Holy, 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 holy ground. Hi there. Welcome to day 4 of Holy Ground, an online summer program for kids from Rising Spirit and St. Mary's Anglican Church, Ponoka. My name's Robin. Thanks for joining us again today. We gather on lands walked for thousands of years by people of the First Nations. Here we honor the history, culture, and spirituality of the First Nations who signed Treaty 6 with us, and we remember our responsibility as treaty members for love and care and kindness and peace. We also honor the heritage of Métis people. Wherever we stand, may we live the respect that our words offer. Well, today's story is going to sound a little familiar at first, perhaps. And in fact, it is going to be familiar. Remember the other day I was talking about how Jesus told parables that were stories that had many layers and many ways of looking at them. And here's one that does have just that. In fact, it has a couple of really obvious different ways of looking at it. And today, we are the earth in this story, wondering, well, what kind of earth we are. So Jesus was talking to a crowd, and he told them this parable. He said, "Once upon a time, there was an old woman who looked out her window at the earth. And she looked at the sky and the ground, and she looked at the sun, and she looked at her calendar, and she looked at her clock. And she said to herself, 'It's time.' And so she went to her back door and she picked up a large bag of seed." "Hang on a minute, Jesus," said somebody. I think you've told us this one before." There were murmurs of agreement from the crowd, and somebody else said, "Yes, I'm pretty sure we heard this like just the other day even." Okay, so it's about the seeds, and the seeds are God's love, which goes everywhere. And if we loved with God's love as God does, what a wonderful and amazing place, what amazing garden we would create if that's how this story goes, right, Jesus? And Jesus said, "You have to listen. And you have to listen. You have to listen for what else is there. You have to listen for the story that's in the story. Just listen." And Jesus said, and the old woman picked up her very large bag of seed, and she went out her back door, and she cast the seed everywhere. And she kept casting the seed everywhere. She threw it everywhere until her bag was empty, and then she went back in the house, and she looked out the window. And some of the seed had landed on the path. She remembered years ago how she dug out the ground to make the path, and she put sand in the bottom so that when she put the stones on, she could make them nice and level and straight. It was a lot of hard work, but it was worth it. And she smiled as she remembered that, and as she saw the birds and the little animals that came along to eat the seed that fell on the path. And then she looked around, and there was some seed that had fallen on the rocks. Some of the rocks had nice, smooth little spots in them where the seed could land because the wind and the rain had worked at them and worn them down over time. And some of the seed landed in amongst the weeds. She thought to herself, and she went back outside. And she picked some of the dandelion leaves and some of the chickweed, And she put it in her salad for lunch because they're good for you and they're nice and fresh and delicious. They just came right out of the garden. And where she had made that space by plucking out those few leaves and weeds, some of the seed was able to grow. And some of the seed landed in the good soil in her garden. The good soil. She laughed to herself again, because she remembered that it wasn't always the good soil. She remembered how much work had gone into digging out that garden and putting in compost and mixing in some really nice dark soil that was really good and rich with all sorts of nutrients and good things for all of the plants, and how she'd tilled it and how she'd watered it, and she'd put fertilizer on, and how she'd hoped that the sun would come out, and it did. And as things grew, she'd pick out the little bits and pieces of weeds around them so that they could grow more freely. And every day, she'd talk to them. She'd talk to her plants and encourage them and ask them to grow. And they did. And Jesus looked at the crowd of people and he said, "How does your garden grow?" And they all kind of looked at each other a little bit, and some of them were a little bit puzzled, and finally somebody said, So we're supposed to be good soil? So that God's love will grow in us? And Jesus said, you're supposed to be who you are. You're supposed to be exactly and only who you truly are. The thing is that needs some work sometimes. It's important that we take care of ourselves. It's important that we work our garden, that we till the soil. However and whoever we are, it's important that we encourage each other and feed each other and nurture each other in order that love might grow a beautiful garden there. Love will grow wherever it is. The more we care for the ground, the more we care for each other, the more we care for where God is in us, the more beautiful the garden will become. Like a rock, God is under our feet. Like the starry night sky, God is over our head. Like the sun on the horizon, God is ever before. Like the river runs to ocean, our home is in God evermore. Like a rock, God is under our feet. Like the starry night sky, God is over our head. Like the sun on the horizon, God is ever before. Like the river runs to ocean, our home is in God evermore.
Happy New Day on Earth. Today our earthing is going to involve rocky ground or stones. Oh, and I got a puppy who's leaving me. So another way to earth, we've done grass, we've done soil, good soil, we've done the beach with water and sand, and now today we're going to use stone. rocky ground. Again, you can earth in rocky ground. But today what I want to do is kind of do a ceremony for the earth with the earth in mind. And so we're going to get you to eventually pan down to my feet again. I'm going to take off my shoes, remind you that our shoes and our sandals insulate us from the earth, and we want to be connected to the earth. And then I'm going to show you kind of a little ceremony I do with a prayer for the earth. So pan on down to my feet. And we're going to take off our shoes again. Got things stuck on my feet. And I'm going to get my feet in the stones. And before we do our prayer today, it could be a mantra or prayer, I'm going to point out we've got a big rock that was given to me from my niece from the mountains close to Kelowna. We've got a puppy in there. We've got, so the stone represents rocky ground. Excuse me, Choo-Choo. The feather represents the sky. The succulent represents the earth. And the bird, which has got a little tea light in it, is going to represent fire and the air. So both. Whoa, we're going to light it. There we go. And we've got a little candle lit, and we're going to say a prayer. I'm going to keep my feet in the stones and my hands down here, and we're going to say a prayer for the earth. Deep breath in and out. Thank you, great Creator, for beautiful Mother Earth, for beautiful Gaia. We thank you for all you created, all the elements of the earth, all the things that grow and thrive in the earth. And we ask that we have mindful ways and mindful prayer for this earth to be whole and healthy, for us to be whole and healthy, for us to live in your creation with great love for all. Amen.
Holy ground!
Okay, so our next video for the Holy Ground Camp is about growing aloe vera. Now, we have this jungle aloe vera in our house. I've had it for a super long time. Absolutely love it, and obviously it's doing super well. My husband Kelvin, he will come over here and show a couple examples. He split some of my aloe vera apart, and it's doing quite nicely. We have several of them throughout the house. Here's another one. And they're doing great. But I also saw this on the internet, and I really wanted to try it with you guys. Some people have a really hard time getting aloe to grow. It does go through a dying phase before it starts growing again, so it's very deceiving. You think it might be done, it is not. So I'm going to dig down to the bottom here. I'm going to need both hands, so I won't be able to film that. A little bit of aloe vera babies that are way down there at the bottom. And we're going to try an experiment with a banana and regrowing aloe vera. Alright guys, we are back here. So I have fished out a baby aloe vera plant, and from what I see on the internets, you don't need the full root system. So this actually broke off, which is fine. And what you're going to need is a banana. You might need a little bit of help from a grown-up to cut out a nice little area for you to put your aloe into. Now, bananas are full of potassium, and plants love potassium. In fact, we, for a while, to help out some of our struggling tomatoes, we're taking banana peels, putting them in a jar of water, letting them sit for 2 days, and putting them on our tomatoes. Bam, amazing tomatoes. So I'm really hopeful for this. Now, we've also never done this, but I have a good feeling about it, because what's going to happen is that this little aloe plant is going to use the nutrients, the potassium, and the moisture from this here banana to grow a root system. Okay, so that's pretty cool. In our house, we have, I don't know, maybe 30 different types of succulents. Here's one bowl. Here's another aloe that's growing here. You know, here's some seeds. Y'all saw those a few days ago, so that's cool. I've scooped out a little bit of the banana from here in order to put our aloe plant inside. And as the days go by, we're gonna shove it right down so it's really in there. As the days go by, this banana is going to get browner and browner, obviously, and shrivel up, but it's putting all of its nutrients into the root system here, which is super cool. I want to see if it's gonna work.
Holy ground!
Today we're talking about rocky ground and how unstable it feels to walk on. So today with Henry and Kinsley, I want to know, do you ever feel lost?
Think so?
Yes.
Yes. And what do you do when you feel lost?
Ask someone where you need to go.
Ask somewhere you need to go.
Sleep.
Sleep. Okay, Henry. Henry likes sleeping. I want to know how you feel when you are lost. Do you feel scared? Are you vulnerable? Do you need help? And who do you go to?
I feel sad because I don't really get to see my family, and what if I lose my family?
That would be really scary, wouldn't it? So, Henry, who do you go to if you're not lost in person, like you're outside and you get lost? What do you do when you feel lost in yourself and you don't know what to do with what's going on around you?
Pray to God.
Pray to God. What a great thing to do, hey? When you're praying to God, show me a way that you can do that. Putting your hands together, that's right. Having quiet time, raising your hands. But this week we're talking about the labyrinth, so what else can we do?
Pray on the labyrinth.
Pray on the labyrinth, that's right. So you could come down to St. Mary's. It's outside. The great thing about having a labyrinth and walking a labyrinth is knowing that you can't get lost. There is a beginning, a middle, and an end of your journey. And you can walk through the loops and connect to God every step.
Holy ground! Well, here we are with today's craft, and I have a new apron today also. Nice apron there. Oh, that's like fruit and vegetables.
My favorite.
Actually, it's, I think, just vegetables. Anyway, today's craft from your bag. Now, I'm just going to say we did double up because there's two of us, but from your bag, you're going to need your stone or your rock, and there'll be in your kit, there'll be 3 paint colors. We happen to have 6 here just because, and 2 brushes, because there's 2 of us. But in your kit, there'll be at least 3 colors and a paintbrush.
And you'll have your own kit, so you won't need to.
Yeah. So you get those out, and if you have extra paints at home, please by all means use those, or extra brushes, or if you have different kinds of brushes. These are just pretty much ordinary kinds of brushes. And you're going to need a little bit of water so that you can rinse your brush off
And
each time you use a color.
spare,
and a little something to wipe with.
Yeah.
Would you like to choose some colors, Lori?
Sure. I think I'll
We could
go
share even.
blue, and you pick a color, and then I'll pick a color.
I'm going to take red, of course.
Yellow,
Purple,
green.
orange.
Perfect.
All right, and we're gonna paint rocks is what we're gonna do. And I know you're thinking, hey, we've done the painted rock thing. But this is a special kind of painted rock, because what we want you to do is paint on the rock, paint some colors and a design and some things like whatever you want. And maybe include a little message or something. Or you can paint your rock, and then after it's dry, you can use a Sharpie to write on your rock a message. And then we want you to take your rock, once it's painted and decorated, and go and leave it somewhere in town. Like just go and leave it on the street somewhere so that somebody else can find it. I don't know if you've seen this in your town, but sometimes like just walking along the street, we'll find a really nice painted rock that somebody's decorated, and there's a nice message on it like love or kindness or love your neighbor, stuff like that. Smile,
joy.
that's,
Yeah.
or big smiley face.
Yeah.
Sometimes somebody did one like a little, the spotty things.
A ladybug?
That's the ones. A ladybug or a spotty thing.
Do a spotty thing.
And you can decorate your stone, your rock, however you like, but go and leave it somewhere. Don't let anyone see you doing it. Just leave it somewhere, and then you can see if somebody picks it up, or maybe moves it somewhere else, or maybe people will just come by and see it, and they'll just enjoy seeing it, and it'll brighten their days. So let's paint some rocks here. Unfortunately, and if you have your own brushes at home, by all means, please do use those. These ones are a little small, but for someone like me, I'm going to say, unfortunately, they're a little small. For somebody like Lori, who's very patient, they're just the right size.
Just perfect.
And you might be somebody who's really patient too. You might be somebody who likes to just gob their paint on. I'm one of those. And get going on it. I'm just gonna, okay, so you got that end's purple. I'm gonna just, you're already moving on to your next color.
I'm
right?
making a design, so
Wow.
yeah.
I'll just clean that off.
Normally you would paint the whole rock a solid color, but I love the color of my rock. It's kind of dark, and I've got some nice bright colors. So I'm just leaving my rock its natural shape. Robin's painting his whole rock. And
Well, I'm just painting the top part, to be honest.
and then I'm making a flower, and then I'm going to put a flower, and on it I'm going to put probably something like smile.
You also want to be a little bit careful too about your paint, whether your paint's wet or dry, because you don't want to get it on you, first of all. That's why we're wearing our aprons.
Yeah.
But also, you might want your colors not to run into each other, or you might want them to.
It might be
That
okay
depends
if you
on
do. Yeah.
depends on how you want to do yours. Me, I'm just doing mine pretty straightforward. I got some stripe action going on here. I'll just rinse that out. This guy here. Important thing is to just take time to enjoy what you're doing with your rock.
Mm-hmm.
And make it something that you think other people might look at and enjoy seeing. It might brighten their day, might bring a smile to their face, and that might mean you might even want to put smile on it. You might want to put a smiley face. You might want to be, oh my gosh, that's a beautiful flower, Lori.
Thank you.
I'm just doing stripes here.
Stripes are awesome. If you're a stripe person, do stripes.
I'm not really a stripe person.
No.
Why am I doing stripes, Lori?
Was it what inspired you, and that's what you need.
Well, that's just it. Sometimes it speaks to you. Your paints and your rocks speak to you, and you go, "Hey, I know what that should be.
Should be a stripe."
It should be striped." What is really also a cool thing about doing a craft like this, especially if you're doing it with someone else, is that if you both have kits or if you have extra paints at home, you can steal somebody else's paint and put it on your rock.
You totally
I'm
could.
totally stealing your blue paint, Larry.
I'm okay with that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You just have to be a little bit careful though, because if you're painting your rock all at once, like I am, then your rock's wet. And if you touch it, you're going to get paint on you.
Wonder if they're hearing a crying puppy.
You know what would also be cool would be if you could also put your thumbprint or your fingerprint in paint.
I'm gonna do
Wouldn't
that.
that be a cool thing?
I'm gonna do that.
That would be awesome. So if you also happen to be hearing what sounds suspiciously like a crying puppy,
yeah.
Our boys Yoda and Chewie are here, and Chewie has a toy which is on the shelf there, and he very much would like to get his hands on it again and enjoy playing with his toy.
But he ripped it apart.
But unfortunately, he ripped a hole in it. Yeah.
And so there's it's got something. So
So
here's
we'll find a
mine.
new toy.
Mine's a flower, And then on the side, I wrote smile.
I'm just moving my paints over here, Lori,
Yeah.
because mine I painted all over, and so it's kind of hard for me to hold up. But as you can see, I just did stripes. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. When it's dry, I'm going to get a Sharpie and I'm going to write "Have a good day" on it in fancy lettering. And then I'm going to go and put it outside somewhere where hopefully someone will see it and it will brighten their day, and someone will see Lori's and it will make them smile.
We hope you smile today.
Enjoy creating your craft rock and sharing it with others.
Mm-hmm.
I am the earth and the earth is me. Each blade of grass, each honey tree, each bit of mud and stick and stone is blood and muscle, skin and bone. And just as I need every bit of me to make my body fit, so earth needs grass and stone and tree, and things that grow here naturally. That's why we celebrate this day. That's why across the world we say, as long as life is dear as free, I am the earth and the earth is me.
Holy, 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 holy ground.